The guilt you feel when you say no isn't yours. It was put there. It's an emotional signal transmitted from another person's nervous system directly into yours, and you accepted the transfer. By the end of this, you'll understand the exact mechanism behind this transaction. You will have the precise words to decline the transfer, guilt-free. And this matters because every time you say a hesitant yes, you're paying a tax on someone else's anxiety, a tax you were never meant to owe. That feeling has a name. It's called projected discomfort. When someone needs something from you that crosses a boundary, their brain registers a potential social rejection. That feels threatening. To relieve their own discomfort, they subconsciously offload it. Their pleading tone, their carefully chosen words, their strategic sigh, these are delivery mechanisms. They are handing you a package of their anxiety, hoping you'll carry it for them. The guilt you feel is the moment you sign for the delivery. It's the sensation of your own nervous system reacting to a threat that belongs to somebody else. You've been treating this guilt as a signal that you are doing something wrong. You should be treating it as a signal that you are being handed something that isn't yours to hold. The entire game changes once you learn how to politely hand it back. So how do you refuse the package? You start with the simplest, most effective tool in the verbal toolkit. A tool designed for reasonable people. This works on colleagues, most friends, and family members who have a baseline of respect for you. The phrase is designed to be a gentle but firm deflection. Imagine a coworker asks you to take on a major part of their project, due Monday. You feel that familiar knot in your stomach. Instead of listing all your excuses, which only gives them points to argue against, you deploy the first script. You say, "Thanks for thinking of me, but I can't commit to that right now." That's it. Let's break down why this is so effective. "Thanks for thinking of me" acknowledges their request and validates them. "I can't commit" shifts the reason from personal willingness to simple capacity. It's a statement about your current state, about your schedule, about resources. It's a logistical problem. Right now leaves the door open for future collaboration, which softens the rejection. You haven't said no. Never. You've said no, not this. You've rejected the request. You haven't rejected the person. This phrase, or a variation like, "My plate is too full to give that the attention it deserves," acts as a clean surgical refusal. It creates zero openings for debate. If you say, "I can't, I have to finish the Miller report," they can reply, "Oh, the Miller report can wait." You've offered a specific reason, so they feel invited to help you solve it. A long explanation is an invitation to a negotiation. A short, polite refusal is a closed door with a welcome mat in front of it. It's polite, but it is still a closed door. This single tool will handle about 80% of boundary situations you face. But what about the other 20%? What about the people who see your closed door and decide to knock again? Harder. That's when you need to upgrade your tools. For the persistent, the entitled, or the emotionally manipulative, the polite refusal is just the first step in a conversation they still expect to win. They will push back. They'll rephrase the request. They might use flattery, "But you're so good at this, it would take you half the time." They might use guilt. "I guess I'll have to cancel my son's birthday party to get this done." This is where most people crumble. Their first no was a shield. The second push breaks it. This is where you need the second script. It's called the broken record. It's simple, slightly boring, and incredibly powerful. You calmly and kindly repeat your initial boundary statement. Almost word for word, they say, "But you're the only one I can trust with this." You take a breath and you say, "I appreciate you saying that, but as I mentioned, I just can't commit to that right now." They try again. "I'd do it for you, you know." You reply, "I know you would, and I appreciate that. My capacity just isn't there this week." Notice the pattern. You briefly acknowledge their point, which shows you're listening. Then you restate your boundary. You are a calm, unmovable object. You are a friendly brick wall. You don't get angry, you don't raise your voice. You don't start defending your position. That's the key. The moment you start explaining why your capacity isn't there, you're back in a negotiation. The goal of the broken record is to make the conversation deeply unsatisfying for the person pushing. They want drama, they want a debate, they want leverage. You're giving them nothing but the same polite, boring sentence. It's emotional starvation. After 2 or 3 rounds, the vast majority of people will give up and move on. They aren't getting the reaction they need to fuel their efforts. You've made it clear your no is a fact, like gravity. It's a statement about reality. The conversation is over. But both of these techniques are reactive. They require someone to cross a line before you can act. The highest level of boundary setting is proactive. It's about building the fence long before you ever need a guard dog. Imagine never having to use the broken record technique again. Imagine people knowing your boundaries before they even think to ask. This is possible when you shift from setting boundaries to stating your operating principles. You are publishing your own personal user manual. You are letting the world know how you work best, what your policies are, and where your lines are drawn, long before anyone has a chance to cross them. You do this in casual, low-stakes conversations. For example, to a colleague over coffee, you might say, "To stay sane and focus on my family, I have a strict policy of keeping my weekends work-free." You've just set a massive boundary. You set it calmly as a personal rule for your own well-being. Now, if that colleague needs someone to work on a Saturday, who are they less likely to ask? You, because you already told them your policy. A no later on would feel like a personal rejection. Stating your policy now just feels like you're sharing how you operate. Here are more examples. To a friend, "I have a personal rule to never lend money to friends because I value the friendship too much to let finances get in the way." To your team at work, "Just so everyone knows my workflow, I check and respond to emails twice a day at 10 and 4. If anything is urgent, call me. Otherwise, you can expect a response then." This isn't you being difficult, this is you being clear. Clarity is a kindness. You are managing people's expectations. A personal policy is impersonal. It's not about them. It's a system you've created for yourself. When you have to enforce it later, the conversation is different. Instead of, "No, I won't help you," it becomes, "Sorry, that falls outside my weekend policy." You're no longer the bad guy. The policy is. You are simply adhering to your own system. It's a powerful reframe that removes the personal conflict almost entirely. But there's a final layer to this, a much deeper one. Because the most important boundaries you set aren't with other people. The person you break boundaries for most often is yourself. Every time you say yes to staying up late to scroll when you promised yourself you'd sleep, every time you eat junk food when you committed to your health, every time you let a small distraction pull you away from deep work, each one is a tiny act of self-betrayal, and your nervous system keeps a running tally. The guilt you feel saying no to others is often an echo of the shame you feel for consistently saying no to yourself. It's hard to stand your ground with someone else when you have a history of abandoning your post with yourself. You lack what psychologists call self-efficacy. You don't have enough evidence to believe you will follow through on your own commitments, so when someone else pressures you, your brain defaults to its training. Its training is to fold. This is the real work, building internal integrity. It starts small. You set one tiny, non-negotiable boundary with yourself. For example, for the next week, I will put my phone in another room by 10 p.m. That's it. And then you honor that commitment as if it were a legally binding contract. You treat that promise to yourself with the same seriousness you would have promised to your boss or your child. Each time you do it, you cast a vote for a new identity. An identity as someone who is trustworthy. Someone whose word means something, especially when it's given to themselves. The more votes you cast, the stronger that identity becomes. You build a foundation of self-respect, brick by brick. You start by using scripts on yourself. When you're tempted to break your own rule, you ask, "Does this action align with the person I'm trying to become?" Or, "What is the hidden cost of this tiny yes to my distraction?" The language you use with yourself is the training ground for the language you use with the world. When that foundation is solid, something remarkable happens. The guilt evaporates. Setting a boundary with someone else is no longer a moment of conflict. It's a moment of alignment. The no you say to a colleague asking you to work on a weekend is a loud yes to the promise you made to your family and to yourself to be present. The no to a friend asking for a loan is a yes to your own financial stability and your principle of preserving the friendship. The boundary is a byproduct of a deeper commitment. You are no longer defending a line in the sand. You are standing on solid ground you built yourself. People can feel it. The desperation, the need for approval, it's gone. Your no has weight. It has history. It's backed by 1,000 small promises you kept to yourself when no one was watching. And this is the final reframe. A boundary is not a wall to keep people out. It's the perimeter of your integrity. Without it, you are just a vague shape, blending into the expectations and demands of everyone around you. You leak energy, you lose focus. The world will always ask for more than you have to give. Your time, your energy, your attention. These are finite resources. A boundary is a conscious decision about how those resources will be spent. It is the most fundamental act of self-respect. So the next time you feel that wave of guilt rising, recognize it for what it is: a package delivery, an invitation to carry someone else's discomfort, and you can simply choose to decline. Your real work isn't learning a script to say to them, it's embodying a standard for yourself. The words will follow.